Since 1965, the Home of Grace has been working with addicts here along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Well, actually, not only here on the Gulf Coast, but around the country. Josh Barton is the executive director here at the Home of Grace. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
If you would, give us a little bit of background, a little history about the Home of Grace.
The Home of Grace was started in 1965 by my grandfather, who just had a passion to help people. You know, back then alcohol was the primary addiction.
Right.
So he had a passion to help people, and so he started sharing that vision with other people, and someone donated the original 10 acres of land and an old trailer, and that's how the Home of Grace really was started.
And it has grown quite a bit since 56 years.
Absolutely.
How many acres do you have here now? We're actually at the men's facility on Jericho Road in Van Cleve, and there is also one in a women's facility in Goshen. How many acres do you have here?
We have about 160 acres here at the men's campus, a little over around 30 at the women's campus. So our men's campus here actually can house 120 men, and our women's campus can house 42.
Really? And what type of addictions? I mean, this is a faith-based type of rehab program. Tell us about that.
Well, it is a faith-based addiction recovery program. We do have individual counseling, group counseling, classroom instructions. We have GED programs. So there's a lot of components that make up the Home of Grace, but it is a faith-based program. In other words, we use the Bible as the baseline for the teaching and the counseling that we use here.
How many, on the average, people do you see come through here every year?
We have about 600 people a year that come through the Home of Grace. From, I think last year we had 26 different states represented. So they come from all over the country to the Home of Grace.
And then as far as the, I mean, it's more so now, I mean, alcohol, drugs, different type of addictions like that you work with
Absolutely. Of course, in the early years, alcohol was the primary addiction.
Right.
But now every year we're dealing with new substances, new things that are on the street. Sometimes, like right now, of course, everybody's hearing about the opioid crisis. So we're dealing a lot with heroin and that type of thing. So, but yeah, every year it's a new issue that we deal with.
How long of a program is it?
It's a 3-month residential program.
Okay, and I mean, are there fees involved, or?
There is. So our cost is a little over $7,000 per person is what the Home of Grace cost is to do business. But because of our donations, we're able to scholarship people down. So it's a $3,000 fee that covers the entire 90 days. So it's about $33 a day is what it works out to be. And that's just because of our financial supporters and so many volunteers that help us do what we do.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, one of the great things about coming here is the closeness and the brotherhood that these men develop for each other. I mean, I saw that.
It really is a unique thing because you have individuals in our program that might be super successful business owners and someone else that might have been you know, at the very bottom of their run, if you will, and a church helps support and get them here. So there's a very mixed group that come to the Home of Grace, but then they room together, they have group counseling together, they have individual counseling together, and the bond that forms by these individuals is very unique. And so they become lifelong friends from their 3 months that they spend together here.
As a matter of fact, we want you to watch this this little section here. The men did a little performance for us. And the song is about the Home of Grace and what it's done for them. And I mean, if you listen to the words of it, about how some of them, you know, they lost everything or almost lost everything. And then the Home of Grace, you know, saved them. So listen to this. Great song. As a matter of fact, the piano player wrote that song?
FG wrote that song, he did.
Yeah, yeah. And of course I can see from the, what's going on here how he was inspired by that.
Absolutely. In fact, he and there was another gentleman that was a professional musician that was in the program around the time that FG wrote that song, and they wrote that song together. But it's been sung around the world. There's actually been radio stations that play that song around the world. So it's been
really
quite a.
Being an old radio personality myself, I can understand why. I mean, that's a great, strong song. You know, for people who are especially fighting addiction. Now, you've had people that have come through this program that have recovered and have now got their own programs going. Tell me about that.
Well, it's amazing to see someone come in the Home of Grace just completely broken and devastated and hopeless. And then years later, they've actually started their own addiction recovery program. So now we have alumni in Louisiana and Texas, and Kokomo, Indiana is actually replicating the Home of Grace right now. They're starting Valley of Grace. And so it's been very inspiring for us to see that happening among our alumni group, and us getting involved with each of those programs has been fun.
Now, you've got a lot of great programs that are going on at each of the campuses here in South Mississippi, the one here in Van Cleve for the men and the one for the women in Gaucher.
We do. We are very blessed to have certified counselors. We have about 9 counselors between the men's campus and the women's campus. We have an incredible team of cooks and admissions teams and just so many.
Yeah, what's the food like?
The food is phenomenal. As you can tell, we all eat quite well around here, but we have
Is it lunchtime yet? No.
We have a wonderful group of kitchen staff. We all often laugh that if the guys have great food and plenty of it, there's not much you can argue or have problems about.
So, you know, you feed us food, man, we're happy all day long.
So they eat really well around here. The guys and the girls have a lot of fun activities. We talked earlier about how they really blend well together. Mm-hmm. It's very important for individuals that are going through addiction and a lot of challenges to find that there are healthy, fun things that they can do in their life. So getting together and playing in the creek, playing volleyball together, just having great fellowship together.
I see this little playground you have in the background here too.
When the families come in from all over with their kids, it's a really great time for the family to be able to get together and the kids have fun with their father. It's a very serene setting.
This is really nice, Josh. I mean, you sit here and it's so peaceful. You don't hear, traffic from the interstate. I haven't heard a plane yet. Right. Or anything like that, so I can understand why it's so peaceful. Josh, how does someone get referred?
Well, most of our referrals come from alumni, so we have, as I mentioned earlier, 35 plus alumni across the country, and so when one of those individuals has someone call their family and say, hey, where did you get your son or your daughter get help? Yeah. That's how many of our referrals come through. But, almost every family that we meet when we go out to churches and we share at different places, every family member is dealing with somebody in their family that's needing help.
Home of Grace in Gaucher and Van Cleve.